hockey fans, and welcome to part 7 of our look at the great career of the Finnish Flash, Teemu Selanne. The journey we have been on thus far is a wild one, to say the least. In part 1, we looked at his emergence in Finland, and then took an extensive look at his record-breaking rookie season with the Winnipeg Jets in 1992-93. In part 2, we looked at the remainder of his days in Winnipeg, of course the Achilles injury, overcoming it, which ultimately led to a great 1995-96 season, which included his heartbreaking trade to Anaheim. However, we all know now that heartbreak was very short-lived. In parts 3 and 4, we covered the star he became in that town, the magic he created with teammate Paul Kariya. In part 5, it was his last days in Anaheim and first days in San Jose. Part 6, where we left off, we looked at his 2 full seasons as a member of the San Jose Sharks, and a very sad and just bad year in Denver as a member of the Colorado Avalanche, where the issues of his knees finally came to full surface, having the least successful individual year of his career. Now, in 12 seasons, Selanne has proven himself to be among the elite of his era. He has evolved with the quick-changing game, joining the NHL at the tail end of the high-scoring era, and still being highly productive in the dead puck era, always among the league's top scorers more often than not. Selanne's finesse, natural skills, and thrilling play made him the last true hero of the original Jets, and he also became an icon in Anaheim, along with Kariya. The two were the poster boys of the club. The problem, however, was the team structure as a whole, and that's talked about both Winnipeg and in Anaheim. The Jets just seem stuck constantly. This is a trend that actually continued after Selanne's departure and is still going on at this point in Phoenix. The Ducks relied too much on him and Kariya and didn't give effective roles or develop other players properly. But the Ducks made the right amount of changes and had a miracle run to the finals in 2003, but had a terrible 2003-04 season. But then when he joined the Sharks, the workload wasn't as heavy, as there were so many talented players on that team who had grown immensely, and they became a contender. His numbers weren't as high as they used to be, but he was always among the team leaders in scoring. But he was still productive in helping lead them to a division title and a 99-point season, both first for their team in history. Selanne, however, decided to leave San Jose, feeling that he had a better future with Colorado and the Avalanche. And the Avs, along with the Red Wings, Stars, and Devils, were the most prominent and consistent contenders of this dead puck era. But as I mentioned, his knees were in terrible shape. He had injury issues throughout his career, including his knees, but now his whole career was being called into question. The Avalanche weren't in a hurry to re-sign him and opted not to. After all, he failed to reach 20 goals for the first time in his career and totaled a mere 32 points in 78 games, becoming a lower-line player as the year went on. Now, as I mentioned in our last video, nobody would have blamed Selanne for retiring. Players who often show finesse see themselves slow down at a relatively young age, even for an athlete. You could actually look at someone like Guy Lafleur, someone who Selanne looked up to. The Montreal Canadiens icon, he did slow down by the age of 30. He was still productive on the score sheet for another few years, but still, you can see something had changed. Peter Forsberg at center, still active in the NHL, would never be the same going forward. Selanne was determined not to end up like that. As I also said before, he's likely a Hall of Fame inductee already at this point, but maybe not first ballot. He had no intention of retiring, but he was also reluctant to get the surgery that would likely cost him an entire season. After that ill-fated year with the Avalanche, Selanne played in the World Cup of Hockey, and he showed a lot of heart and determination with his play, and surprised a lot of people. He showed he still had a little something left. The NHL lockout, of course, canceled the whole 2004-05 season, and while Selanne was rumored to be playing back in Finland for the year, he chose to get the surgery. He wanted his career to continue, and he wants to win a Stanley Cup. But due to the teams he's played on, even some of the good ones, he has only made the playoffs 6 times in his career and won 3 series in 12 seasons. He has never once been to the conference final in his career. Of course, a lot of players haven't made it overly far in the playoffs throughout their career, such as Marcel Dionne and Mike Gardner. But as I mentioned, it's just a cruel twist of fate that has happened to him. Anaheim making it to the finals in 2003, and the Sharks making it to their first conference final a year after he left, beating Colorado no less in 2004 to get there. Selanne has played, however, in 10 international tournaments since becoming a pro. He has played in 4 World Championships, taking home a bronze in 1999. He's played in 1 Canada Cup and 2 World Cup of Hockey tournaments, making that shocking run that we're just coming off of in 2004. And 3 Olympic tournaments. He's played very well, garnering that upset of a bronze medal in 1998. Now, Finland has grown tremendously in their hockey program throughout the 90s, but it just seems they keep suffering setbacks as well. They're trying their hardest to get to that next level. And there's an Olympic tournament coming up in 2006. And at the very end of our last video, we mentioned Selanne is going back home to Anaheim. It's where he wants to be, it's where he wants to go. Apparently other teams offered more money, but Selanne wanted to bring a championship to the city and the fans he adored. He took a deal for just 1 year, worth $1 million, far below his normal salary. The media and experts were mixed on his return, feeling that some felt that the surgery will give him new life. Others feel he just won't have that spark anymore. After all, he's 35 years old, going into what will be his 13th NHL season. He's only been gone from the Ducks since late in the 2001 season, but let's give a brief backstory of what has happened since he's been gone. Well, after the Selanne trade to San Jose, Paul Kariya was left carrying the load in Anaheim. However, they'd missed the playoffs for a third straight season in 01-02. However, something crazy happened in 02-03. Brian Murray, who was a tremendous hockey mind, took over as general manager, and they hired a new coach, Mike Babcock. Yes, we know Babcock, bad man, yeah. But just bear with me. The future was still far, however, for the Ducks among being the best in the league. But at least the motivation for the future had arrived, and the team was very motivated too. Murray did some wheeling and dealing, acquiring some veteran depth, and the Ducks returned to the playoffs in 2003 as the 7th seed, and made it all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals, led by Kariya. But the show stealer was goaltender Jean-Sébastien Giguère, who won the Conn Smythe Trophy as playoff MVP in the losing cause. And in the 2003 draft, Murray made out like a bandit. Their 19th overall pick, they took center Ryan Getzlaf from the Calgary Hitmen of the WHL, tremendous playmaker. And remember that draft pick the Ducks got for Selanne in that what seemed like to be a bad trade, and at the time, you can see it was? It was a second rounder. We know what they did with that second rounder? They sent it to Dallas for a first rounder and chose Corey Perry from the London Knights of the OHL. The Ducks, however, still fell hard in the 03-04 season. Kariya left that year, of course, to join Selanne in Colorado. We know how well that turned out. Red Wings legend and superstar Sergei Fedorov joined the Ducks. He played okay, but clearly not up to the usual standard that we're used to seeing from him. A lot of the deals Murray made, started to fail. Some didn't return, some just trailed off in their play. The Ducks finished 12th and missed the playoffs. But going into the return to action to the NHL for the 05-06 season, the Ducks had a new general manager in Brian Burke, best known for bringing the Canucks back from the brink in the late 90s into the new millennium. He was considered to be one of the most brilliant minds in professional hockey, and was the one who decided to give Selanne a chance to return, feeling that our hero could bring veteran leadership and regain his game over time. And a new coach on the club, Randy Carlyle, a Winnipeg Jets legend who was actually teammates with Selanne briefly in our hero's rookie year. He was an assistant at Winnipeg after he retired, so he knew Selanne quite well. He coached in the minor leagues after that, the Manitoba Moose for 6 years, returned to the NHL for a couple seasons as an assistant in Washington, and during the lockout year spent more time in Manitoba. But this is his first head coaching job in the NHL. And during the 2005-06 season, Selanne was entering yet another new era, as two youngsters named Crosby and Ovechkin are touted as the two men who will take the league by storm. Also, the dead puck era is indeed dead. There are many new rule changes. There were no more ties, as the shootout would be introduced if the game was tied after overtime, and records would now be recorded as wins, losses, and OT losses / shootout losses. There's a smaller neutral zone, a return to the traditional blue line and red line widths, no shift changes after icing the puck. There were a few others, but the biggest was the abolishing of the two-line pass offside rule, and fans cheered this one, let me tell you. This was an attempt to make the game a little more exciting. With this and Selanne's surgery, and possibilities were very good for our hero. He also had a very strong team around him now. Getzlaf and Perry were ready for their rookie seasons. Center Andy McDonald is looking to play a larger role. We also have veteran grinder Rob Niedermeyer. Also, sophomore Joffrey Lupa will play a part, as will soon-to-be acquired Chris Kunitz and heavily playoff experienced Peter Sikora. J.S. Giguère gets another chance to be starting goaltender, while on defense, you have a man Selanne is very familiar with in Ruslan Sally, seasoned veteran Keith Carney, and also Vitaly Vishnevsky, who also knows Teemu, and then soon-to-be acquired Francois Beauchemin. They will also start the season with Sandy Soslinch, but he won't be there very long. But a huge new acquisition, a man who played in the same rookie year as Selanne in 1992-93, but since then has acquired 3 Stanley Cup rings, a Norris Trophy as top defenseman, first-team All-Star, second-team All-Star, Olympic gold medalist, I'm talking New Jersey Devils icon, Scott Niedermeyer. Now this is major news. The Ducks, however, still had not sold odds makers or experts on their chance of improvement, but the season is a chance at redemption for our hero, but it can also prove maybe his career might be over. Make or break for Teemu Selanne. Anyway, here we go. October 5th, 2005, Selanne's 880th game of his career, 395th as a member of the Ducks, first since March 4, 2001 as a member of the Ducks. It was against the Chicago Blackhawks on the road. The Hawks are still a team trying to find their identity, as they continue to rely on the likes of Eric Daze and Kyle Calder. They also have Selanne's former teammate on the Jets, Nikolai Habibulin, in net, fresh off a Stanley Cup run in 2004 with Tampa Bay. They're also relying on two young defensemen, Brent Seabrook and Duncan Keith. The Hawks did take a 1-0 lead, however, 8:22 into the game, but 3:11 later, on a power play, Corey Perry sees Peter Sakura, who sees Teemu Selanne at the right spot. He scores the 453rd goal of his career, 226 as a Mighty Duck, first since March 4, 2001 as a Duck, his last game oddly enough with them, and they tied the game 1-1. The Ducks went on to win 5-3. Our hero makes his first game back count. The next game was on the road against the Nashville Predators, a big game because not only were the Predators looking to become a next big team in the NHL, but this is where Paul Kariya was now playing. The Preds did win the game 3-2 in a shootout, but Selanne had a better game than his longtime partner in crime. With an assist and a +1, Kariya was a -2 and pointless. Then it was time to welcome Teemu Selanne back home officially. October 10, 2005, he returns to the Arrowhead Pond as the Ducks are set to take on superstar defenseman Chris Pronger and the Edmonton Oilers. Selanne's reception is truly one to behold. The fans cheer their hearts out, stand out of their seats to welcome him back. They never stopped loving him. Truly a magical moment you can see that he was genuinely moved by. But then just 6:36 into the game, it happened. Andy McDonald sends in Teemu Selanne on goal. Jussi Markkanen does not stand a chance. He scores. The place erupts in absolute joy. And they cheer even louder when his name is announced over the PA system as the man who scored the goal. It was a great moment indeed. The Ducks, however, would lose the game 4-2. They bounced back against Rick Nash and the Jackets, and Selanne went pointless in that one. Then it was a mini road trip, and the Ducks lost all 3 games. Our hero went pointless against young Brent Burns in the Minnesota Wild. Then it was a goal on a tough 3-2 loss to Brewer and the Blues. Another goal on a 3-2 loss to Datsuk, Zetterberg, Shanny, Nicky, and the mighty Red Wings. 2 goals in 3 games and a +1. Then back home against former teammates Shane Doan, Mike Ricci, and the Coyotes. He played a beauty, scoring a goal and a helper in a big 5-3 win. However, they lose the next game on the road in LA to seasoned veteran Luke Robitaille and young Dustin Brown and the Kings 3-1. He was pointless. But then they hosted defending Western Conference champions, the Calgary Flames, led by superstar Jerome McGinley. Selanne had a goal and assist in a 4-1 win and was named 3rd star of the game. Selanne was looking like his old self out there on many nights already, and it was no different on October 28th against the St. Louis Blues, who were off to their worst start in years. They lost Pronger to Edmonton. McInnes had retired. They did have a really good defenseman in Eric Brewer, and reliable forwards such as Scott Young and Doug Weight, but nowhere near enough to be a formidable contender. Selanne was a beast on this night. He continued to prove the naysayers wrong. Down 2-1 in the first, he scores a power play marker to tie it. The Ducks, however, took control of the game, leading 5-4 in the third. He hit an insurance marker goal just past the midway point, giving him a 2-goal game. And Selanne and the Ducks get ready to host the rough-looking Coyotes to end the month of October. And Selanne was ready for more action. The Coyotes, however, took a 1-0 lead in the first intermission. And then, nearly 5 minutes, Todd Fedoruk sends Selanne to goal. He scores one for the Reals. Yes, indeed. And the Ducks tie it 1-1. Second period winding down, 45 seconds left. Saleh clears the puck up to Selanne, who sets up McDonald, and ba-da-ba-ba-bam, loving it. The Ducks lead 2-1 after 2 periods. Mike Leclerc got a goal and tied up for Phoenix, and just 2:19 later, however, power play. Sakura leads the attack, gets the puck to Selanne, who sets up Andy McDonald in front. Then the Ducks regain their lead, and thanks to great goaltending from Jaguar, they hang on to it and win 3-2. Selanne, 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points. Named 1st star of the game to a rousing ovation. It seems the pond belongs to him once again. Selanne silenced many people early on in his first month back with the Ducks and back from surgery in his new NHL season. 12 games in October, 9 goals, 5 assists, 14 points, and a huge +8. The Ducks are off to a pretty decent start as well, 6-5-1 to begin the season. And then he began the month of November notching 2 assists in a 4-1 win over the Predators. He is truly on a hot streak. In the last 4 games, has notched 4 goals, 5 assists for 9 points, above 2 points a game. He is making all the right headlines again. But this comeback season isn't going to come completely easy, because the Ducks lose 8 in a row. He had a goal and 2 assists for 3 points. That stretch was a -4. The only highlight, 2 assists in a 4-3 shootout loss to Minnesota, and the goal came against former team Colorado. But of course he stepped up again and changed the Ducks' fortunes. He scored a goal each in the next 5 games. A win in Phoenix on Cujo, loss to Dallas on Turco, then 3 straight wins at home over the Red Wings, scoring 1 on Osgood, the Hawks on Happy Bulin, and the Coyotes on Lenivo. Selanne went pointless in the next 3 games. He had 2 assists, however, and a win over a solid-looking Habs club after that. Then 2 nights later, in a tight 3-2 loss, the Leafs scored a goal. Then Selanne then went pointless in the next 3 games. He then had a goal and a helper against the Sharks. The goal was his 17th of the season in his 35th game of the season. And remember, in 03-04, he only scored 16 with the Avalanche in 78 games. So he already has more this season, not even at the halfway point. And remember how he only had 32 points in 78 games last season as well? Well, after a goal against the Blues, but a shutout loss to Columbus, then he had an assist, another win against the Blues on New Year's Eve, and then notched 2 assists against the Nashville Predators in a win on New Year's Day 2006. That gave him 33 points in the season in 39 games. But of course, some say Selanne has cooled off since his hot start in October. The Ducks are barely above average. But it's crazy how when the naysayers come out, so does Selanne as he continues to prove them wrong. Goal and a helper in a shutout loss to the Stars. Then an assist on a lone goal in a loss to the Wild, but also assisted on a goal in a dominant 6-2 win over the Kings. Then Selanne scored a beautiful solo effort, his 20th of the year, and then added an assist in a win against Ottawa. He then assisted on a lone goal in a 1-0 win over Florida, and then had an assist in the 3-2 shootout loss to the Kings. But then 2 was Selanne's magic number. 2 goals in a loss to the Oilers, was named 3rd star, however. 2 assists in on both goals in a 2-0 win over the Sharks. Then notched 2 assists in a win over LA. Then they went home to face the very same Kings on January 30th, 2006 at the Pond in Anaheim. And with the Ducks down 1-0 in the second on the power play, 7:38 in, Boscheman over the side to Niedermeyer. Sets up Selanne at the side of the net. The game is tied 1-1. And the game is tied 2-2 in the third, and 8:33 in. Kearney clears the puck to McDonald, who sees open Selanne. He scores not only a goal, but career point number 1,000. Yes, the 70th player in NHL history to reach this historic milestone. The 7th European player to reach it, and just the 2nd Finnish player, of course, the first being Jari Kurri. The Pond cheers in joy of their hero's accomplishment. This journey to this mark began with an assist on a Keith Tkachuk goal back in his first game as a Winnipeg Jet on October 6, 1992. Now he etches his name in stone with this moment. Now Selanne has had 8 points in 4 games as he continued his hot streak. And then a goal each in a home-and-home series with the Sharks, a loss and then a win, giving our hero overall a 14-game point streak. If there is ever any doubt among the naysayers, they've finally been shut up. Selanne is truly back. 8 goals, 13 assists, 21 points, a point and a half a game, a monster plus 11, and to boot, the Ducks went 9-3-2 on this stretch. His point streak, however, came to an end in a shootout loss to Edmonton, but then had an assist on the lone goal in a 3-1 loss to Flames, and another apple in a win over the Canucks, and then another helper in a win over the Hawks. Indeed, our hero looks the sharpest he has in years as we head into the Olympic break. And indeed, Teemu Selanne is off to play in his 4th Olympic tournament, this one taking place in Torino, Italy. He is reunited with Habs stars Saku Koivu and Teppo Numminen, who is now playing for the Buffalo Sabres, and Stars forward Jiri Lehtinen, men he knows very well. The Finns are considered a medal contender this year, much due to their showing at the World Cup of Hockey in 2004, despite a bad showing at last year's World Championships. And the Ducks are very well represented in these games, as Selanne is one of 5 of them to be selected. Samuel Paulson is suiting up for Team Sweden. Vitaly Vishnevsky suits up for Russia, as does backup goalie Ilya Brizgalov, who is also backup goalie here. Also, Sandy Soslin, who's been out of action much of the year, and also a few weeks away from being traded, is representing Latvia. Actually, would have been 6 Ducks players, but Scott Niedermeyer had to withdraw to the tournament Team Canada due to injury. And the Finns were in Group A, along with Canada, the Czech Republic, Switzerland, Germany, and Italy. The opening game was against Switzerland on February 15th. And Switzerland considered to be somewhat of a dark horse and a mild fan favorite, as they put together a solid hockey program in their country. The only goal of the first period, however, was a tally for Olli Jokinen. And then 3:35 into the second period on a power play. Lehtinen controls the puck. He gets over to Selanne, who sends it back to the plate for Teppo Numminen. And the Finns take a 2-0 lead. Looking sharp so far. Just under 5 minutes later, Jokinen's second goal made it 3-0. And 5:21 after that, it's Koivu. He's got Selanne with him. He passed it to our hero, and he scores. Selanne with his first goal of the tournament, making it 4-0. And what do you say? He's not done. Well, exactly 6 minutes later, Olli to Jiri to Teemu. He scores his second goal of the game, third point of the night. They lead 5-0, and that's how it would stay. The Finns are off to a great start. And indeed, Selanne and the Finns went on a tear to start the tournament. 2 goals in a 6-0 rout of home country Italy. And then against Jágr and the Czechs, he scored the key tying goal and assisted on Lehtinen's game winner to give them that 3-2 win. That dangerous line from back in '98, Lehtinen, Koivu, and Selanne are on fire. Then next up was Team Canada. In 2002, they lost a hard-fought battle to Canada, but of course in 1998 defeated them for the bronze. This Canadian team had 8 future Hall of Famers present, and some of them were Selanne's former teammates. Well, not all of them Hall of Famers, mind you, but still. Shane Doan, Joe Sakic, Rob Blake, and Adam Foote were on this club. Now, Canada started off pretty well, but are coming off a shocking loss to Switzerland. 11-14 of this game, Koivu fights the puck behind the net, he puts it out front. Selanne, there he is, and he scores, gets a puck pass on Roberto Luongo. He scores his 6th goal of the tournament. And the brilliant goaltending of Antero Niittymaki and another Finnish goal led them to beat Canada and shut them out 2-0. What a huge win, as the Finns are just a runaway freight train of success. They'd also go on to win a final round robin game, a 2-0 shutout against Germany. Selanne had an assist, and they're undefeated going into the playoff round. Then Finland won an exciting outing to eliminate the U.S. in the quarterfinals 4-3. Selanne was pointless, but still playing his heart out for his homeland. And then it was off to the semifinals against Russia. This team had a lot of pure talent, but some say lacked the heart to be true winners. And that may be the case, but they did just eliminate Canada. The Finns stayed focused and never let up, and Selanne assisted on a Saku Koivu goal and made it 2-0. Nitti was great in net, and the Finns played a cohesive game. They won it 4-0. Teemu Selanne and Team Finland are going to the gold medal game. Selanne has never won a championship as a professional. No gold medals, no Stanley Cups, World Cup of Hockey, nothing. This could be his first. How great a story would it be if he, an icon of his homeland, can finally bring it home? Finland has never won an Olympic gold. They obtained a silver and a bit of a shock in the 1988 Olympics in Calgary, a bronze in '94 in Lillehammer, and of course a shocking bronze win in 1998 in Nagano over Canada, which Selanne was a part of. He has a silver from the World Championships in 1999, and of course that runner-up in the World Cup of Hockey in 2004. But this could be the ultimate dream come true. Finland has turned the Olympic Games on its ear when it comes to hockey this year, but guess who is standing in their way? Yes, indeed. It is their heated rival, Sweden. Their round robin wasn't overly smooth, however, with 3 wins, 2 losses, and no draws. But in the playoff round, they crushed the Swiss and also crushed the Czechs. They were actually going into this game, however, as a slight underdog. We were considering that they're always among tournament favorites, but since the NHL players were eligible, they've been a constant disappointment. And of course, fans remember that big 1998 upset with the Finns over Sweden, Selanne's clutch performance that eliminated them in Nagano. But let's see who makes up the Swedish club. The great Peter Forsberg, Selanne's former teammate in Colorado, now playing for the Flyers, is showing tremendous leadership and making great setups this tournament. He has 5 total. He won a gold back in 1994 for Sweden before joining the NHL the following year, and then he played in the '98 Olympics but had to miss the O2 games due to surgery recovery. He also has 2 World Championship goals, 3 silvers, and played in 2 World Cup of Hockey tournaments. Daniel Alfredsson, the superstar of the Ottawa Senators, is actually coming off winning the Swedish League Championship from Linda HC during the NHL lockout year. A dynamically skilled winger, he has yet to win a championship for his country. He has, however, won 2 World Championship silvers, 2 World Championship bronzes, and played in the 05 Worlds. He also played in both the 96 and 04 World Cup of Hockey tournaments. He played the 98 and 02 Olympics as well. He's having a tremendous tournament, however, with 10 points so far. Then you have Toronto Maple Leafs icon Matt Sundin. 3 World Championship golds, 2 silvers, and 2 bronzes. He played in both the World Cup of Hockey tournaments and both NHL Pro-laden Olympics. Either way, he's hungry for gold. He's having a great tournament with 7 points. Also, you had the awesome duo of the Sedin twins, Detroit's phenom Henrik Zetterberg and Thomas Holmstrom. Leading the defense, of course, is the great Nicklas Lidstrom. He too is having a great tournament. He has won a gold, silver, and bronze each at the World Championships. He has played the 91 Canada Cup, both World Cup of Hockey tournaments, and the prior 2 Olympics. Also, blue liner Kenneth Johnson is having a great showing, as is Matthias Olin, and I also have Christian Backlund and Nicholas Havlet. And in gold, the man who soon would be king, Henrik Lundqvist, who hasn't yet to even scratch the surface of how great he would become in the NHL. He was still in his rookie NHL season and was playing very well, and had already played in 2 World Championships, winning a silver in 2004. He enters this game with a 4-1 record, a 2.40 goals against average, a .903 save percentage. This is going to be a dandy of a game, but can our hero get his country to the top of the mountain? Let's find out. From the opening puck drop, both teams are dead focused and ready to win, each team trying not to make a mistake. Both goalies are also ready for what comes their way, but the Finns go on a power play, and they are very strategic. The puck is bouncing around, however, but they're maintaining control. Selanne, however, has it near the side of the net, but then he feeds Teemu Selanne back at the point. He shoots it home, and the Finns strike first, 1-0. A great calculated move from our hero, and the Finns start off hot, 14:45 into the game. They took that lead in the intermission, but in the second, the Swedes kept their focus and took a 2-1 lead by the 13:24 of the second period as Zetterberg came alive. Both goals were power play markers, as Finland's penalty kill wasn't up to task on this night. But 1:36 later, Latonen scored, assisted by both the Jokinens to tie the game up. 2-2, and that's how it stays after 2 periods. It does not get much more exciting than this. Our hero will no doubt come out determined for the third. But it only took 10 seconds off the opening draw. Lidstrom to score a goal. The Swedes take a 3-2 lead. The Finns tried to press and press and press, but they were having trouble getting the equalizer. King Henrik is steady in net. Selanne is trying with all his might, but nothing is happening as now 10 minutes remain. The Finns aren't quitters, but the Swedes are determined as well. And before we know it, 5 minutes remain. Teemu is inspiring his team to keep going for it, but it seems like Sweden just has things figured out. 1 minute to play, 1 minute. Then he gets ready to head to the bench for the extra attacker. 30 seconds left. Our hero and his boys are pressing, but Lundqvist is making great saves, and their defense is there. 10 seconds. Come on, boys. 5 seconds. Sweden clears the puck to the neutral zone, and that's going to do it. Time's up. Finland loses a heartbreaker 3-2. Despite a great accomplishment from Team Finland, winning only their second silver medal and first since 1988, it was a crushing defeat for our hero and his team. Powering through the tournament, undefeated only to lose in the final. Yeah, their dejection is valid, but Teemu should not feel ashamed or feel like a loser. He gave all he had in this tournament, and while it may not have felt good at the time, no doubt the silver medal that sits around his neck at this tournament still meant something. And he truly was sensational, and for the second time in his career, he led the Olympics in scoring. For the first time since the bronze medal win in '98, he shares the scoring lead with guess who? Saku Koivu. Selanne notched a total of 6 goals, 5 assists for 11 points, and played in all 8 games. Meanwhile, Peltonen finished 5th in scoring, and Olli Jokinen and Jiri Lehtinen were tied for 6th. Selanne was also named to the Olympic All-Star team for the first time. He proved not just to be a great player with skills, but also a born leader out there. He was also joined by teammates Saku Koivu, defenseman Kimmo Timonen, and goalie Antero Niittymaki. The Finns taking up 4 spots. The other 2, well, they went to a youngster by the name of Alexander Ovechkin and the great Nicklas Lidstrom. And because of his great play, he is named best forward of the entire tournament. It really showed everyone that he was more of his old self again. But many wonder, could he continue that momentum back in Anaheim? Well, it's time for us to find out. Coming back from the Olympic break, the Ducks are sitting at a record of 27 wins, 19 losses, and 11 overtime losses for 65 points. Not a bad record, but not good enough to be sitting in the playoff spot, unfortunately, as they sit in 9th place, 3 points back of 8th place Edmonton. It didn't start out well with a shutout loss against Detroit, but Selanne scored a goal in a 4-2 triumph over the Minnesota Wild, bringing his season total to 55 points, passing his mark from 2001-02 with the Sharks. Then began a mini 6-game point streak for Selanne. After a win over Minnesota, he had 2 assists in a shootout loss to crappy Columbus, then an assist in an overtime win over the Sharks, and a goal in a 5-3 win over the Coyotes, and then 2 assists in a 5-2 win over those same Coyotes, and then got a goal in a 3-1 loss to powerful Wings. 8 points in that stretch, the Ducks go 4-1-1. After going pointless in a win against Chicago, he had 2 helpers in a 4-3 win over Columbus, including on Lupul's game winner, and another helper in a victory over an excellent Stars club. And that gives him 65 points on the year in 65 games. That passes his mark with the Sharks in 02-03. Can he continue his role? Well, he does in the very next game against the Colorado Avalanche, down 5-2. He notches 2 assists out of the next 3 goals, and the game is tied 5-5, and the Ducks win it in overtime. Then on March 24th came a contest with the Nashville Predators, who entered this game with a record of 42, 19-8, and indeed Paul Kariya is present in his old home. Also, Steve Sullivan, Martin Erat, and Scott Hartnell. On defense, they had youngsters such as Shea Weber and Ryan Suter, as well as Selanne's Olympic teammate, Kimmo Timonen. In net, they had Thomas Vokoun, who's having a great year. The Preds struck first 6:35 into the game, but then later in the period, with 2:18 remaining on a power play, McDonald sees Getzlaf, who waits for the open spot, and at last he sees Teemu Selanne. He scores his 30th goal of the year, his first time reaching 30 since the 2001 season, and the 8th time in 13 seasons he has reached the Big 3-0. The game had remained tied, however, going into intermission. After a Chris Kunitz goal early in the second gave the Ducks a 2-1 lead, at the 12:14 mark, Todd Fedoruk sent Selanne in on goal, and unless Vokoun is a force field, he ain't stopping this one as Teemu Selanne scores his second of the game. 25 seconds later, Corey Perry made it 4-1, and then 1:53 left in the period, Selanne gets the puck out to Fedoruk, who sets up Andy McDonald, and the Ducks lead 5-1. Selanne has his 3rd point of the game, truly having one of those epic nights that he had back in the days of Winnipeg in his first stint in Anaheim. And the Ducks take the lead into intermission. The Preds got one back over near the midway point of the third, but on a power play with 3:38 remaining, Getzlaf on the wing to Selanne, who sees Andy McDonald. Selanne's 4th point of the game. What a tremendous night as the Ducks faithful cheers their hearts out. The Ducks end up winning the game 6-3. Indeed, 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points, named first star of the game against that old familiar ovation from fans who adore him like few others. Another amazing outing from our hero and what we can truly call a great comeback season. McDonald has 3-point night, including 2 goals, and they gave him a 2nd star. Getzlaf's 4 apples gets him the 3rd star. And if that wasn't enough, the very next game he scored 2 goals and a helper for 3 points in a 5-2 win over Phoenix on the road. That's 7 points in 2 games, 9 in his last 3, and 12 in his last 5. Wow. He's named first star of that game as well. Also, that puts him at 74 points this season, putting him past his mark of 72 in the split 2001 season between the Ducks and Sharks. Then, after a goal and a helper and a loss to the Avalanche, the goal gave him his 34th of the year, passing his mark from that same 2001 season, as well as 1999-2000, his last full season with the Ducks until this year. Teemu is truly showing that flash yet again. After going pointless, however, against Dallas in a loss, he had 2 assists in a shootout win over Dallas. What a month of March for our hero, my goodness. The momentum of his performance at the Olympics carried him into this month, and he kept it up and then some. Count it up. 8 goals, 16 assists, 24 points in 16 games. A point and a half a game. And an excellent +9. This is his best calendar month since leaving the pond. And to make things even better, the Ducks went 11-4-1 in March, which means with 9 games remaining in April, the Ducks sit at a record of 38, 23, and 12 for 88 points, sitting in 6th place, inching closer to a playoff spot. And with our hero more determined than ever, it may very well be official soon enough. After scoring 2 goals in a 6-2 win over the Canucks and being named first star of that game, the Ducks hosted the LA Kings, who are fighting for their playoff lives. The Kings were led by Craig Conroy, Pavel Demitra, and veteran Jeremy Roenick. The major player for their team this year, however, was defenseman Lubomir Wisnowski, and in net they have goaltender Matthew Garon. The Kings' determination, however, allowed them to strike first. It took a 1-0 lead, 6:35 in, but then nearly 4 minutes later on a power play, Getzlaf gets to McDonald, who sees open Teemu Selanne, who scores to tie the game out as the Ducks' power play is clicking as of late. However, the Kings take back the lead 33 seconds later. Then they carried that 2-1 lead into the second period, but just 124 into the frame on the power play, Selanne over to McDonald to Joffrey Lupul. The Ducks tie the game. Selanne has his second point. The Ducks press for a go-ahead marker, but it actually remains 2-2 after 2. And then in the third on another power play, 4:05 in, Lupul to McDonald to Teemu Selanne, his second goal of the game, and at last gives the Ducks the lead they've been looking for. Count of 3 points for our hero. A Sam Paulson goal made it 4-2, and as time was winding down with the net empty, Selanne clears out the puck to Rob Niedermeyer, who gets to the stick of Halson again, who scores. Selanne has his fourth point with 11 seconds remaining. And on top of that, Corey Harry added one with 1 second to play. Just like the old days, the crowd is chanting his name as he has named first star once again with 2 goals, 2 assists, and another 4-point night. Teemu, Teemu, Teemu. And after a 5-3 loss to Dallas where he went pointless, the Ducks were gearing up for a 5-game road trip. He notched 2 assists in another win over the Kings, 4-2 that is. Goal and a helper for another 2-point night in another 4-2 win. This one over the Canucks. And with that win, the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim are officially in the playoffs. Then it was off to Alberta where he went pointless in a loss to Calgary. Then an assist in a loss to the Oilers and pointless in another loss to the Sharks. 3 in a row. But that road trip put Selanne at 89 points, passing his mark from 1999-2000 with the Ducks and his best mark since the 1998-99 season. There was 1 game remaining, however, against the Red Hot Flames. And once again in the clutch, he scores the tie-breaking game winner, 4-3. The Ducks take it, and Selanne scores goal number 40 this season. The first time he's reached that mark since his Richard Trophy winning season in 1998-99, and the 6th time in his career he's reached it. And with that, the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim finish with a record of 43 wins, 27 losses, 12 overtime losses for 98 points, a new franchise best. Selanne has a habit of doing that. It was good enough for 6th place in the West, and they were a decent 13th best in goals scored. Gave up the 7th least, however. They both have a moderate power play and penalty kill, but again, the power play, as I said, is coming on as of late. The Ducks must be prepared because it's playoff time. And standing in their way in the opening round, they're facing the 3rd place Calgary Flames, the defending Western Conference champions who made a miracle run in the 2004 playoffs all the way to the 7th game of the Stanley Cup Finals, which I've covered on this channel. And they've carried that momentum into this season, becoming a league elite club. They finished with a record of 46, 25, and 11 for 103 points and are coached by Gerald Sutter, who coached Selanne in San Jose. Calgary was not an overly offensive-minded team. They scored the 4th least goals in the league, but they did give up the absolute least in the league. Despite their lack of goal scoring, they had a good power play and the 7th best penalty kill. The Ducks and Flames each have 2 wins against each other this season. Let's see who makes up this club. And while I said they might not be the most offensive-minded team in the league, they do have one of the most gifted forwards in the league, that being Jerome McGinley, one of the best complete packages in the game at this time. A strong power forward and has tremendous skills when it comes to puck handling, especially in traffic. This year he notched 35 goals, added 32 assists for 67 points, and proves himself to be the ultimate leader and played in all 82 games. Calgary's defensive strategy out front is led by the hard-working warrior known as Stefan Yell. Great in the face-off circle, tremendous on the check, and plays all over the ice surface. He finished a +10 and added 18 points, and came in 7th for Selke Trophy voting as a top defensive forward in the league, and brings 134 games of playoff experience, has played in 3 Stanley Cup Finals, including with that 2004 Flames team, and winning 2 Cup rings as a valued member of the Colorado Avalanche. Also on this forward core, you got Damon Lankow, former Blackhawks All-Star Tony Amani, Chuck Kobasu, Matthew Lombardi, Sean Donovan, and fan favorite Chris Simon. And also bringing 150 games of playoff experience, 3 Stanley Cup rings, longtime Red Wing star Darren McCarty. Leading the defense was their breakout star this year, their 2003 first-round draft pick, Edmonton native, rookie Dion Phaneuf. He had a sensational rookie campaign, bringing his physical style and strong offensive instincts to the team, adding something new to this Calgary club. He had 20 goals, added 29 assists for 49 points, and played in all 82 games. He is a +5 and 9th in defensive point shares. He was a finalist for the Calder Trophy as the league's top rookie, coming in 3rd, and came in 8th in Norris Trophy voting as top defenseman. He's off to quite the good start. Also in this defensive core is Roman Hamrlik, who entered the league the same year Selanne did, and also now in his 13th season, has yet to win a Stanley Cup. He joins Calgary and has played only 51 games this year, but is ready for these playoffs. He has 7 goals, 19 assists for 26 points, and was a +8. He has a strong shot, still a commander of the power play. He was a welcome addition. Also on the defense, Robin Regeer had a very good season, as well as Jordan Leopold and Brett Warner, and rounding out the core is Andrew Ferentz. Last and most certainly not least, in goal, Miikka Kiprusoff, Selanne's fellow countryman and former teammate of his on the Sharks. He became a sensation on Calgary during that 2003-04 season, dominating the league, and does so again this year. Finishes with an insane record of 42, 20, and 11, coming in second in wins, just one behind Marty Brodeur. A league-leading 2.07 goals against average. His .923 save percentage was third best, and a monster 10 shutouts, which led the entire league. He won the Vezina Trophy as the league's top goaltender, also received the Jennings Trophy for least goals allowed, was a first-team All-Star, and was a finalist for the Hart Trophy as league MVP, coming in third. Our hero and the Ducks are underdogs going into this one, so here we go. Game 1 at the Pengrowth Saddledome, the Flames faithful believe their time is now, and Kiprusoff is playing a huge game. Our hero fires in 5 shots, but can't get anything past him. The Flames got 1 in the second, and the Ducks got 1 in the third, and we're up to OT, but Darren McCarty coming up in the clutch sinks the Ducks 9:45 in. The Flames take the first game. Game 2, it's a more defensive-minded game, and the Ducks lead 2-0 after 1. Then 5:10 in the second, Selanne maintains the puck, and now Selanne has it. He sets up Joffrey Lupul to make it 3-0. The Flames cut the gap to 3-2, but the Ducks ultimately win it 4-3. And now the series is tied 1-1 as we head to the pond. Game 3, Ducks fans are super excited, and who can blame them? Calgary, however, took a 2-1 lead early in the second. But then power play, Scott Niedermayer has the wheel. He gets it on the wing to Selanne, who gets it to Bushman. He scores, and the game is tied 2-2, but the Flames go on to win 5-2 and take a 2-1 series lead. Selanne hasn't played that bad thus far, however. Game 4, the Ducks are fighting to keep this series in reach. Both goalies are playing outstanding hockey. And it's scoreless after 1 period. In the second, Getzlaf gets the Ducks on the board first. And then, power play, Scotty to Ende to Teemu. His first goal of the series, and the Ducks lead it 2-0. But 2 goals by Iginla early in the third tied up, and we're off to overtime. And Sean O'Donnell is the hero for the Ducks. Close to just a minute and a half in, and they win it. Just like that, the series is tied 2-2, and we got ourselves a playoff match here. Game 5 back in Calgary, it's not good. The Flames lead 3-0 after 2 periods. Our hero refuses to stop fighting, and on a power play, looking for a goal desperately, Bushman over to Selanne, who sets up Andy McDonald, and the Ducks are finally on the board. They get 1 more, but ultimately lose the game 3-2. They now trail by the same margin and face elimination. Game 6, back of the pond, the tension is high, but the Ducks don't get careless or frustrated. They, however, do trail 1-0 after 1, but they remain focused. 7:49 in, Kunitz begins a play that leads to stick at McDonald, who sees Teemu going in on Kipper. He scores! The game is tied 1-1, and the Ducks go on to win it 2-1. They have forced a 7th and deciding game they refuse to lose. Whew. Here we go. Game 7, the Saddledome in Calgary. Selanne has only ever played in 2 Game 7s before this, and has won 1 and lost 1 each. One was the Ducks' very first ever playoff series win against the Phoenix Coyotes in '97. The other was a 2002 loss to the Avalanche while playing for the Sharks. Well, here we go. Each team playing a careful game and try not to make any mistakes. It's scoreless after 1 period. Then 5:12 into the second period, Saleh gets the puck to McD, who sees Selanne, his 3rd goal of the series. The Ducks strike first at last. Saleh then stuns Kipper with a goal less than a minute to play in the second period. Can they hang on? The Ducks are doing everything in their power to keep the Flames extinguished, and time is counting down. And with 20 seconds left, Jeff Friesen's empty netter seals the deal. The Mighty Ducks of Anaheim take the series in 7 games. For our hero, it's just the 4th playoff series victory of his career, but a sweet one. And he played very well and consistent throughout. 3 goals, 3 assists, 6 points in 7 games. He led the Ducks in scoring and was an even 0. But what awaits our hero in the next round? Oh boy. For the Western Conference quarterfinals, Selanne and the Ducks take on the team where Selanne had a disastrous prior season with, the Colorado Avalanche. They are now coached by Joel Quenneville. They finished 43, 30, and 9 for 95 points. 7th best in the West. not too far behind the Ducks, and are coming off a shocking 5-game series win over the favored Dallas Stars. The Avs are trying to reclaim the top of the mountain and indeed are making the playoffs for the 11th straight season. That's dating back all the way to the last season in Quebec in 1995. Their offense is highly potent this year, scoring the 4th most goals in the league. And giving up goals was kind of a problem, 15th most, so in the middle. Their power play was 8th best, their penalty kill was 6th best. They checked the boxes for the most part. The Ducks, however, went 1-3-0 against the Avalanche this season. Let's see who makes up this playoff-heavy club. Well, they're still being led by the all-time great Joe Sakic, the only guy Selanne even remotely clicked with during his 1 year in Denver. And that isn't surprising. He played in all 82 games, notched 32 goals, 55 assists for 87 points, and was a +10 in what is his 17th season. He once again got votes for the Lady Byng and still is one of the best leaders in the game. A major factor in many games for the Avs this year was Alex Tanguay, sometimes grossly underrated, a tremendous passer with sweet puck control and creativity. He notched 29 goals, 49 assists, 78 points in 71 games, and was a +8. He led the NHL in shooting percentage with a 23.2. He continues to be the backbone for this club. And of course there's Milan Hajduk, a skilled scorer with great accuracy. This year he notched 24 goals, 34 assists for 58 points, and led the team with an impressive +13 as his two-way play developed a great deal this year. He also took home a bronze medal with the Czech Republic at the Olympics. Also on this club, Andrew Burnett scored 24 goals, Ian LaPerriere notched 21, and Jim Dowd, Antti Laaksonen, Brett McLean, and Brad Richardson. However, unfortunately, 32-goal scoring rookie Marek Zvatos is injured. Leading the defense once again is the great Rob Blake. In his 15th season, still produces a great deal of aggression and tough play, adding 14 goals, 37 assists for 51 points in 81 games and a +2. And he got 6 votes for the Norris Trophy. Also, John Michael Isles had a tremendous year. 14-year veteran and former longtime Habs defenseman Patrice Brisebois lends substance and depth. Also, Carlos Skrastins, Brett Clark, and Kurt Sauer complete a solid core. And in goal, Lacey's acquisition, Jose Theodore. He was a former Hart Trophy Vezina winner with the Habs back in 2002 as the Avalanche parted with Dave Abersher, who was struggling. His time in Colorado in the regular season was short and not very good. He was 1-3-1 with a 3.04 goals against average, a bad .887 save percentage, but played well in the Dallas series. Remember, Selanne has never won a second-round series in his career. Either way, here we go. Game 1, we're at the pond and the crowd is loud and proud, and our hero is playing with all his might, but the goalies are stealing the show on this night. First period, it's scoreless after 1. A goal from Paulson put the Ducks on the board early in the second period, and then just past the halfway point, Selanne gets to Beauchemin, who sets up Chris Kunitz for the goal, and the Ducks lead 2-0. And with time winding down in the second, it's now Kunitz with the puck commanding the attack. He sees Selanne. He scores his 4th of these playoffs, and the Ducks lead at 3-0 with 55 seconds left in the second. But wait a minute. On the power play, Beauchemin steers it over to Selanne, who sees open loophole. He scores. It's Selanne's 3rd point of the game. Wow. And the Ducks lead 4-0 with 6 seconds left in the second period, and they go on to win 5-0. What an emphatic win over a playoff-heavy team. And Selanne is named first star of the game. What an outing for him. A goal, 2 assists, 3 points, and a +2. He has his team motivated in what is one of the best playoff performances of his career at this point. Game 2, the Ducks are still determined and not letting up on the Avs. Selanne plays well despite going pointless, but 3 goals in Brisebois' second straight shutout gives them a 2-game series lead. Wow. The Avs' top guns have been completely disarmed. Game 3 in Denver, it is, however, back and forth. 1-0 Avs, 1-1, 2-1 Avs, 2-2, 3-2 Ducks, 3-3, and we're off to OT. Selanne has a pretty rough game, but he was still playing like he wanted it. With 3:30 left in overtime, Joffrey Lupul is the hero. The Ducks win and go up 3-0 in this series. Is this actually happening? The Ducks are just 1 win away from a sweep, and Selanne is 1 win away from appearing in his first conference final series. Can they do it? Game 4, we're still in Denver. We're tied 1-1 after the first period, but then 2:22 into the second, McDonald gets the puck to Kunitz, who sees Selanne near goal. He scores, and the Ducks go up 2-1. They take that lead in an intermission. In the third period, Penner scores to make it 3-1. Marchand adds the empty netter to make it 4-1. And Selanne's goal proves to be the game winner. And for the very first time, Teemu Selanne, now in his 13th season, will play a semifinal/conference final series as the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim are indeed going to the Western Conference Final. What a tremendous series for Selanne. 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points, a +1 in 4 games. 3 of his points came in Game 1. But what a performance that was, and his important game winner in Game 4 truly stands out. He is just 1 series win away from finally going to the big dance. But he's got to make it to the stage first. And who awaits him and the Ducks in this 2006 Western Conference Final? Indeed, it's a very unexpected foe, the upstart Edmonton Oilers. They were the last seeded team in the playoffs, 8th in the West, but still had a very good record of 41, 28, and 13 for 95 points, just 3 back of Anaheim. This is their first conference final appearance since 1992 and are looking to make their first cup final since 1990, which was also their last cup win. They stunned the Red Wings in the first round in 6 games and then took out the 5th seeded Sharks in 6. So the Ducks are definitely not taking these boys lightly. Coached by former Oiler player Craig McTavish, this never-say-die team just kept finding ways to win. They had a decent offensive input and gave up the 12th least goals in the league, a so-so power play, as this team did seem very middle of the road on paper, but they had the 8th best penalty kill. And the Ducks have lost all 4 meetings with Edmonton this season. Either way, playoffs are always a different story, as we've seen just with the Avalanche. But let's see who makes up this Edmonton team. Of course, a huge part of this team is their fearless go-getter and man of true leadership, Ryan Smith. Led the way with 36 goals, added 30 assists for 66 points this season. His 19 power play goals were tied for 8th in the league. He had grit, determination, and he may not make highlight reels like Selanne does, but that's not his job. It's to get to the goalie and get the puck in the net, and he does it very well. Also, youngster Elias Hemsky had a breakout year, proving to be a superb setup man with 19 goals, 58 assists for 77 points in 81 games, and led the Oilers in overall scoring. He's also an Olympian this year, winning a bronze medal with the Czech Republic. And after being a productive role player for the last few seasons and having a tremendous work ethic, Sean Horkoff had his best season with 22 goals, 51 assists for 73 points and an even 0 in 79 games. And he's playing very well this postseason. Also having a great postseason is the surprising Fernando Pisani. Also, you have Rafi Torres and Jared Stoll bringing a welcome presence, as well as one of the best two-way men of his era, veteran Mike Pekka. Also, Ethan Moreau lends a great hand, as does Sergei Samsonov, who's also playing tremendously this postseason. But the biggest factor who really took this team to new levels was the man leading the defense, who was acquired just this season. I mean, Chris Pronger, who after 9 seasons of immense success in St. Louis is now an Edmonton Oiler. He has been the true difference maker above and beyond, and that's really not a surprise. His overall presence, his leadership, his aggression, psychology, and let's face it, downright nastiness is just what the Oilers needed. Also, his 12 goals and 44 assists for 56 points in 80 games didn't hurt. He was a +2 and having an incredible run in these playoffs. He came in 7th in Norris Trophy voting, an award he has won in the past, and also registered to vote for the Hart Trophy, and he was also in the top 10 for defensive point shares. Joining him in the score, ever popular Steve Staios, Marc-Andre Bergeron, Yaroslav Spacek, Jason Smith, and Matt Green. And the man between the pipes, 36-year-old journeyman Dwayne Rollison. After a successful collegiate minor league career with a few call-ups and backup gigs, he clawed his way to being a #1 goalie in the NHL for the Minnesota Wild, and the Oilers acquired him as he was struggling there during this season. However, since joining the Oilers, he was decent with an 8-7-5 record, a 2.42 goals against average, and a .905 save percentage, and a shutout. But it's these playoffs where he's truly stunning everybody. 8-4 record, 2.16 goals against average, and an immense .930 save percentage, and a shutout. Well, here we go. Game 1, the pond is shaking before the puck can even drop, and it's a tight affair, and our hero is all guns blazing, firing shot after shot after shot, but Roley isn't giving anything up, and the Oilers going to win 3-1, taking the first game. Game 2, Selanne actually plays, but this probably his only really bad game of these playoffs. He's barely anywhere to be found. He's a -2, and just clunky this one. And the Ducks drop Game 2, 3-1 as well. Roley is a beast. He just can't be beat, it seems. Well, they're trailing 2-0 and going on the road. It looks pretty bleak, but the Ducks are flying as best they can in this important Game 3, and are making a huge effort, including Selanne, but it was just 1-0 after 2 periods. And then The third was wild. The Oilers still leading 1-0. 3 goals, 2:21 apart. They gave them a 4-0 lead. O'Donnell does break the shutout, and then 2 minutes later, Wisniewski up to Penner, who sees Teemu, his 6th goal of these playoffs. The Ducks are down by 2. Kunitz closed the gap to a goal, but just over 2 minutes later, he did that. Can they do it? The Oilers have a score with 5:46 left, but wait, with 1:45 left, Scott Niedermayer up to Selanne, who sets up Todd Marchand. The Ducks are down by 1. They press on further with the extra attacker, but lose 5-4 and are on the verge of being swept. Despite a huge effort from Selanne on this one. Game 4, however, something has awoken in the Ducks as they're on the verge of getting eliminated. After Penner scores a solo effort a while later, Marchand puts on the blade of Selanne, who sees Penner. He scores! The Ducks lead 2-0 and lead 3-0 after 1. The Oilers close the gap to 4-3, but the Ducks win it and stay alive underneath 6-3. Can pull off a miracle. Game 5, the fans of the Pond certainly believe that is possible. And 7:30 into the game on a power play. Selanne back to the point to Scott Niedermayer, who gets it to Bushaman, who slaps it home. And the Ducks strike first and take that 1-0 lead into intermission. But the Oilers score 2 in the second. And Rolison bars the door. The Oilers win it 2-1. Take the series at 5 games, 4-1. This is as close as Selanne has come to his Stanley Cup dreams, and the door has been slammed shut. A goal, 3 helpers, 4 points, and a -1. A rough couple games early on, but he tried his damnedest to get his team in this thing. But this year is just not the year. After the heartbreaks of the Olympics, and now this. That stuff can sometimes psychologically affect a player. Thankfully, however, Selanne's a little too smart for that. The Oilers, however, would go on to lose the Stanley Cup Final to Carolina in 7 games. Now let's go back and take a look at this huge comeback season. In the 2005-06 season, Teemu Selanne scored 40 goals, 50 assists for 90 points in 80 games, missing just 2 early in the season. And it's playmaking Andy McDonald who makes the clean sweep this year, as these two have been incredible together. They do not get enough credit, and he deserves a heaping amount of credit for Selanne's comeback year. He set up 18 of his goals, just 2 less than half. Selanne returned the favor 16 times, just short of half of McDonald's 34 goals. And the two collaborated for 14 assists, totaling 48 different goals. Wow. They do not get enough credit for their chemistry. I can't stress that enough. Also, Selanne clicked with just about everyone, it seemed, on this roster, especially Scott Niedermayer as well, as the two of them teamed up for 19 goals. He also clicked with another defenseman, Francois Beauchemin. And he clicked with the likes of Lupo, Kunitz, Getzlaf, and Sikora at times. Selanne received assists from 20 different players and set up 13, and also collaborated with 13. Truly remarkable. And oh yes, our hero is back in the top 10 in big categories, including one he's very familiar with, goals. For the first time since the Richard Trophy winning year in 1998-99, and the 5th time in his career, he cracks the upper tier in this big category, tied with Brendan Shanahan of the Detroit Red Wings with his 40. You can see the new faces have arrived in the NHL when you look at this list, but some of the familiar faces, including Selanne, aren't quite ready to leave yet. Also, for the first time since 1998-99, and the 6th time in his career, Selanne makes the top 10 in offensive point shares, making number 10 indeed with an 8.7, just 0.2 of a point behind some kid named Crosby in Pittsburgh, further emphasizing the importance of his return to the Ducks and his return to form. And he was back in the thick of awards voting, as he came in 5th for Lady Byng Trophy voting, garnering 144 votes. Former teammate Patrick Marleau of the Sharks was a finalist, coming in 3rd. And this is the 10th time in 13 seasons, all but 3, that Selanne has gotten votes for this award of excellence in sportsmanship. And for the first time since the 98-99 season, and for the 6th time in his career, he gets votes for the Hart Trophy, this year 18 votes and 13th place. But our hero, well, he didn't walk away empty-handed. Yes, Teemu Selanne is a 2005-06 recipient of the Bill Masterton Memorial Trophy, awarded to the player who best exemplifies the qualities of perseverance, sportsmanship, and dedication to the game of hockey, and he defines all of those. And after overcoming that knee surgery, which did indeed save his career, and having the season he had, he deserved it. It's also pretty much seen as NHL's Comeback Player of the Year award in some regards. Way to go, Teemu. This is perhaps one of the best years of Teemu Selanne's career, in the context of the story and all behind it as well. With that surgery that could have shortened or lengthened his career, and he still has that finesse back. And, despite getting older, he is evolving his game in many ways, making such players around him as McDonald even better. He deserved the Masterton Trophy without a doubt in anyone's mind, back in the top 10 again in goals as well as offensive point shares. He finished with a plus 28 that ties his career high back in 96-97, his first full season with the Ducks. He is still a great leader and once again made history as he often does. He led the Ducks to their best regular season yet. He did that back in 97. And, for the first time, made it to the conference finals of the playoffs. First time in 13 seasons, that's remarkable. And he had 14 points in 16 playoff games, his best postseason performance yet. And of course, his unforgettable turn at the Olympics. While it may have felt bittersweet at the moment, that silver medal was a huge accomplishment, and the things he has done for Finland hockey is truly out of this world. And for his hard work, he was named Tournament All-Star and the best forward of the whole thing, also leading the Olympics in scoring for the second time. Now, as I mentioned before, the heartbreak of those two major losses, the gold medal game and the conference final, it can get to a player, even the best of them, even some of them mentally tough. But for Selanne, it just makes him thirsty even more for winning. And that does it for part 7 of our look at Teemu Selanne. Stay tuned for part 8 as things, believe it or not, are about to get even better for our hero. In the meantime, like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and until next time, I'll see ya!